Hey, everybody, this is the Chaos, and I am here with my brother Lee, and we're going to review the last week games that have just passed. We're going to talk about Sunday's games, and we'll talk about Thursday's games, and we'll even talk about last night's Monday night game. How are you, Lee?
I'm doing really good. It's a fine Tuesday. I like getting to Tuesday. Feel like I made it.
I usually wait till I get through work on Wednesday, but I guess when you're retired or not really retired, but your own boss, you just need to make it through Tuesday.
It's gonna make it through Tuesday. Not retired.
Not retired.
Not retired.
It's hard to call it a retirement with the amount that you're working as much as I've ever seen you work. So,
There you go.
all right,
That's what retirement is all about.
working.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get started. What game did you want to start with?
Well, I want to start with Chicago, Detroit. I mean, it was the first game, and what did we get out of that? I mean, it was a pretty close game, but two teams that probably aren't going anywhere right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, a game like that, and to me, in my opinion, is a game where it's a positive for Chicago, and I mean, in the sense that they got the win at most. That's the only thing they could really take away from a game like that.
So, what do you think? Is Detroit going to win a game this season?
I don't know. I will say that they're very competitive. They've had great moments. I mean, their defense played really well against Chicago on Thursday. They've had games where their offense looked good. Some people have called them the best winless team in football, and that if they don't win a game, they'll be the best winless football team they've ever seen. I think they're going to get a win. I think they had an opportunity to get a win. Um, and again, Chicago got the win, which is a positive, but I don't think overall it's a great game for them. I think that their Matt Nagy, their coach, is on the hot seat for sure, and I think their fans want better than just barely getting a win against a team that hasn't beaten anybody yet.
But back at next game, Raiders Dallas. Back in the day, those were teams that I was scared of. Man, they were teams that won, and they're both winning again to some extent. That was a pretty good game.
It was a good game. It's disappointing for Dallas because I think Dallas, is coming in year after year, and every year there's all excitement that this is the year. And not that this year's over for them. They could turn this around, get hot, and beat a team in the NFL. This is a very, out of the NFC, this is a very wide open year, to be honest. There's no dominant, I can't beat them team. I mean, we got to see what happens with Tampa once they hit the playoffs and go into that playoff mode. But Dallas has been a little bit of a disappointment. They don't seem to live up to the expectations each year. They were off to a great start. Now they've been a little iffy over the last few weeks. Bad one week, good the next week. Obviously, Thursday was about their defense was the issue. But Dak looked great, which is good for Dallas fans. He had a great game, a couple of touchdowns, over 100 QBR rating. And it's interesting that Tony Pollard, their backup running back, seems to be having more success than Ezekiel Elliott. And they're stuck in a contract with Ezekiel for a lot of money. And with CD Lamb out, their star wide receiver, it puts them in an interesting position. We'll have to see what happens with Dallas. And the Raiders are just an unpredictable team, man. They've overcome crazy adversity. I mean, just first they lose their coach due to controversy. They lose their young wide receiver. They lose their cornerback, basically to controversy. Two picks, two players that were both 2020 first round picks are now off the team, and John Gruden's off the team. Yet they're surviving and are contenders in the AFC. But not a great defense for them, but showed a lot of heart. Derek Carr had a great game and kept them in it and delivered when he needed to. And we'll see what happens with them. It's interesting. Now they got Renfro and Deshaun Jackson at wide receiver. It's a dangerous combination.
So right now, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Both playoff teams.
Yeah, I think Dallas for sure because of the division. I don't see them falling apart in the division. I think with Dallas is that they need to do something in the playoffs. The Raiders a little trickier because of their division, but I think that was a big win for them. So for right now, I'm leaning toward them at least catching a wild card spot.
What about the Bills Saints? I'll tell you right now, I think the Saints are toast, but that's easy to predict.
Yeah, well, the Saints. I mean, and it's. I mean, when you're starting Trevor Simeon, it's never a good thing. I mean, he's failed in a lot of places. You know, he once had hope. He had once had a decent year, got a big contract, and has done nothing since. They really didn't have much of a chance against the Bills. I don't think the Saints are going to be a factor this year, even if Winston comes back. He's a hot and cold kind of quarterback, but the Saints are going to probably have to solve their quarterback issue. I don't think Jameson's going to be the guy. I don't think obviously Trevor's going to be the guy. That's a team that needs a quarterback. And Buffalo um, delivered a big win. People questioning whether they could beat a team with a winning record. They came and they kicked the Saints' butt, and Buffalo is
Well,
definitely
500, 500. So they still haven't beat a team with a winning record.
well, okay, but more legitimacy than the other wins that they had. I think people were interested in what Buffalo was going to do, and they really the real test for Buffalo will be when they play New England. That's
Yeah,
going
I know
to.
you were thinking maybe they were a Super Bowl contender. I'm sure this win made you think that they have an even better chance now, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they just get by and skim by the teams that are really good. I mean, they crushed these teams. They crushed the Jets. They crushed Miami the first time they played them. They crushed New Orleans. So I mean, it's not like we can totally write off and say that these wins don't matter. I think Josh Allen is a great quarterback, and he regressed a little bit, but that's a natural thing when you have such a great year like he did last year. But he's going to be fine, and Buffalo is going to be a very difficult team to beat, and I still believe they're a contender. But that can change if they lose to New England. I mean, really, that's going to be the test. We got to see what they can
I
do.
mean, to me, Buffalo seems like they crush the butter, but they get hammered by the hammers.
Well, maybe maybe they just need to again, it's like it could be psychological too. It's that mental thing that they really need to believe in themselves and see that, like sometimes it's the culture is harder to turn around than the quality of players. So they got to get over that culture of losing. They had a good year last year. They came close against Kansas City. They just need to believe in themselves because all the talent is there.
Tampa Bay, 38-31 over Indianapolis. What say you?
I say that was a great game. I say I knew that was going to be a great game. I'm actually very impressed with Tampa in that one because I honestly thought that Indianapolis was on a roll. I thought that their offensive line was great. It looked like Tampa was slowing down a little bit. They had struggled a little bit previously. Um, and I thought, oh, okay, maybe they'll turn it on in the playoffs. But I thought in Indianapolis was going to win that game, but it didn't play out that way. Um, and you know, Brady is Brady. He didn't even have his greatest game. I mean, it was so, which is interesting. It was Leonard Fournette who just broke out with a 100-yard rushing game. He scored 3 touchdowns. Gronk is back and healthy, so everyone forgot to factor that in. The difference when
Gronk,
Gronk is there, so he kept a lot of drives alive and kept them rolling.
Gronk.
Tight ends at his age, that's 123 yards receiving. You just got to be impressed with that.
So the Bucks going back to back.
Um, I for some reason have trouble buying into the Bucks winning it again. Not with, I mean, Tom Brady though is Tom Brady. I mean, I have learned enough as a Jet fan to never bet against him. But I don't think it's a shoo-in. I don't think it's a shoo-in. I think that, but there's always that chance, like I said before, that once they go into playoff mode, that they might turn on a switch and boom, there they go. But beating Indianapolis, the way the Colts have been playing is very impressive. And obviously, the Colts are one of the favorites to go to the Super Bowl and to even win the Super Bowl.
You said the Colts, didn't you?
Oh, I'm sorry. The Tampa Bay is a favorite to win the Super Bowl. Indianapolis is dangerous if they get into the playoffs. The problem now is that they got off to that slow start. But if the Colts come back and go to the playoffs in the AFC, they're going to be dangerous and it needs to be reckoned with. But Tampa Bay is a favorite for sure to go to the Super Bowl. They might even be the favorite, right? The odds-on favorite right now to win the Super Bowl.
So I'm going to ask you about the game I know you want to talk about the most. Your beloved Jets taking the Texans down.
Okay. It's funny. As Green Bean, my friend, will not let me look down. I was very down on Zach Wilson in the first quarter. But he reminded me, and it made sense. He was out for a month. So Zach Wilson did not play well until the end of the second quarter and the third quarter, which was very encouraging because once he got into a little bit of a rhythm, he played much better. But it was really the running game and the defense that's the big story for the Jets in that one. And a lot of people say, yeah, they beat Houston. Who cares? Well, both teams were 2-8. So the team that wins gets to say, well, we're the winner. We're the one that beat the other 2-8 team. It's certainly better than losing to the other 2-8 team. And the Jets really took over the second half, and they did it in Houston, which gives Jet fans a feeling for the future that the rookies are coming along. People are making progress. And Jets fan couldn't be happier about the response of the defensive line getting 5 sacks. Very, very excited about that. But the Jets have beaten good teams this year as well. They just need to win more often. And, all hopes are that they will build off this win and get a couple of more before the end of the year and be able to improve their record next year and, continue to build and move forward.
If you're a Texan fan, anything good out of this? I can't see it.
No, if you're a Texans fan, the only thing good out of it might be, if you're excited about your draft stock. Like us last year. But the Texans are in a really bad place. I mean, their star quarterback didn't play this year. He's never going to play a game for the Texans again. Everyone pretty much knows that. This is just really about how much draft capital are the Texans going to get for Deshaun Watson, and then what they're going to be able to do with that draft capital. So they'll have a good first pick of their own, and they're going to get a couple of first-round picks at least for Deshaun Watson. At some point, some team in the offseason will make a move. There will be a trade, and the Texans are in rebuild mode. So it's not a big deal that they lost this game, but it's not like they're in the rebuild. Like when the Jets lose, everyone gets upset and scared that it's not, what's going on with this rebuild? Is it really happening? Houston doesn't have that issue. They know without Deshaun Watson, it's going to be a crappy year. It's a team that needs to start their rebuild. And I think that the Deshaun Watson trade that is going to happen is going to go give them the picks and the opportunity to build up from scratch.
What do you think about the fact that our other New York team that we grew up rooting for, the Giants, they took down the Eagles? That hasn't happened in a while. At least it doesn't seem like it has.
No, and it's a surprise because the Eagles had been playing really well. They've been running the ball like lunatics. Jalen Hurts has been a very pleasant surprise for the Eagles. The Eagles defense did play really well. Despite their record, they are actually have been very, very competitive. A surprise at least to me. I didn't expect them to be that competitive this year. I thought they were going to need a new quarterback. I definitely thought that they were drafting well and were going to go in the right direction, but they had a rookie coach, so they were an unknown. And the Giants are just inconsistent. They are capable of beating any team on any given day. You don't know which team you're going to get. I think it's because they have a lot of injuries. They have a lot of guys playing for the first time together. I do think they have a good coach. A lot of people are saying he should be on the hot seat. I don't agree with that. I actually think Joe Judge is a good coach. And we'll see that, if they can stay healthy. They kind of got the Jets bug also with injuries. They kind of had a lot of injuries, but their defense is really coming on. They definitely got something to build on. They have the same problem they've had for the past 10 years and a similar problem to what the Jets have had. And they just don't, they don't have an offensive line. And so it'll be interesting. They got 2 draft picks coming up. If they stick with Daniel Jones, you'll probably see them go for 2 offensive linemen early. Definitely at least 1.
Would you stick with Jones where he is right now?
I would stick with Jones because he doesn't have an offensive line. So I wouldn't feel great about it, but I'd wait 1 more year because I wouldn't make this the year. It's not a great year for the draft for quarterbacks. So I don't think it's worth in the long term making a move for a quarterback now. It's a very weak draft for quarterbacks. It'll be a much better year next year. So if they're wrong about Jones and they give him an offensive line and they still don't win a lot of games, they can have an opportunity to get a franchise quarterback in 23, which is actually looking like it's going to be a great year for quarterbacks and to draft a quarterback. So I would stick with Jones 1 more year and make sure and see what he can do if he actually gets some time.
You talked about Buffalo crushing Miami. By the way, I'm switching to Miami, Carolina right now. Miami goes and crushes Carolina. Does that say Miami's looking pretty good or Carolina's looking pretty bad?
Well, I think it's a combination of both. Miami has been very hot. They've won a few games in a row now. I believe maybe even 4 games in a row. And Carolina has been falling off the side of the earth. And one of the reasons is, and Jet fans know this well, is they chose Sam Darnold to start the year as their quarterback and thought he was going to be the guy for them. And so a lot of people believed it for some reason. I think if anybody who watched him and really understood knew that Carolina was making a big mistake. And bringing back Cam Newton, I know they used him a couple of plays when he first got back and he generated some excitement. And it's not that he's played bad, but before, the week before his first starts, but Cam Newton is not, I don't know why people are still holding on to the idea that he's going to be a good, solid quarterback. He didn't look good in New England. He's not the same guy. So it's not a shock that Miami won because they're on their way up and Carolina's on the way down. It's a shock that they won by that much and they dominated that much. And it makes them an interesting team to see what Miami is going to do the rest of the way because they were projected to be a very good team when the year started. And I think Carolina is going to lose a lot of games now. Christian McCaffrey, their star running back, is out for the rest of the year. And they just are not convinced without him, it's really going to be hard for them to have a good quarterback play because he was the only thing that was saving and making the quarterbacks respectable at all. I don't think they have a quarterback who, without a running game or a short passing game, is going to be able to go downfield consistently. Very good defense, though.
It seems like 2 teams going in opposite directions.
Absolutely. And that was exactly what was reflected in this game.
Hey, the Patriots take on the Titans. I think the Patriots come in 7-4 to this game. The Titans are 8-3. New England's at home. Who did you think was going to win that game? Mac Jones, rookie quarterback.
Well, I definitely, but I'm not surprised that New England won that game because Tennessee does not have their star running back, and he is such a big part. He's such, just a tremendous part of the Tennessee offense. I mean, the entire offense is built around the play action pass. Not that their substitute running back had a bad game. Dontrell had a great game. They actually had 2 guys rush over 100 yards, Dontrell and Dante Foreman. So their running game wasn't bad. They actually had a good running game, but I don't think that they were able to when they had Henry. They had a good running game, but the difference was you didn't have to stack 9 guys in the box, 8, 9 guys in the box like you do when you have Henry. And what that does is that's what makes Tannehill so successful there is you have to stack the box and it opens up opportunities, play action pass. And I think even though those guys ran well, I think that Belichick knows how to take away a team's greatest weapon. And, he just basically said, we'll let them run. They'll have some success running, but we're going to take Tannehill out of it. We're not going to let them have their big plays downfield with play action. We're just going to keep guys out of the box, stop the pass. And it shows because Tennessee ran well, but they weren't able to put together any kind of passing game. I think they had 93 yards passing. So Belichick is Belichick. He knows how to beat teams. And he did. And, rookie quarterback is not a big deal when you have Belichick as your coach with the system and his ability to adjust a system to work for a quarterback. And that's what he's done. And Mac Jones looks like he's going to be an NFL quarterback to stay. So I'm more interested in is, can New England beat Buffalo? That's going to be the real test. I mean, for that team. Because that's really going to be who's the king of the AFC East.
So Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. Hey, are we sticking a fork in Ben? Is it over for Ben?
I thought it was over for Ben last year in the last 8 games of the year, and I think that especially when you see quarterback starts to fade towards the end of the season, then like they wear down. He's had a great career. I hope he leaves before he, it's not good to be remembered that way. And, he had, we're talking about a Hall of Fame career, and he's just, I think it's time for him to move on. I think it's time for the Steelers to move on. They got some other good things going on. Their defense is a little unhealthy now, so that's why it's not a surprise at all this game. Their defense is banged up. They're missing their best players. Their safety, Watt was out. I mean, he's just such a big part of their pass rush and pressure. So not a surprise that they lost. Definitely one of their toughest seasons in the last, since, Tomlin's been their coach. I think that he's pretty much had a winning record almost, I think, every year, except for maybe one. So I think it's time for Pittsburgh to find a quarterback.
Yeah, and because the quarterback draft is pretty weak coming up, they're probably going to need to go to the market.
Yeah.
Pay some money for some quarterback.
Right. If Cincinnati can get into the playoffs, they're a dangerous team because they're a streaky team. I mean, they're capable of putting together wins. They have a great young quarterback. They're building. They're going to be tough moving forward. I don't know if it's going to be this year, but Cincinnati is definitely a team to keep an eye on.
I don't know, any team that loses to the Jets, come on.
They really came out flat. That's a trap game, I think. I mean, that's how Jet fans looked at it as, hey, we got lucky. We were, we played well. We're not going to say we're lucky. We played really well, but I don't think any Jet fan denies that was a trap game for Cincinnati. They were cruising. They thought they had themselves an easy win. And we kind of paid them back because a couple of years ago when we started to get it together and looked like we had a chance to make a run at the playoffs, it was Cincinnati that came out of nowhere. They were the trap game for us, and they kicked our butt, and they ended any playoff hopes for us that year. So this was a little bit of payback for Jets fans.
Atlanta, Jacksonville. Jacksonville.
Yeah. Well, they were competitive. I think that I would be a little.
Well, I'll tell you this: they were more competitive than the Jets were against Atlanta.
Yeah, not a ton more competitive, but because the Jets weren't completely. I mean, the Jets had a bad first half, but they did show some signs later on in the game. But no, they were more competitive. But I think the disappointing thing for Jacksonville is you'd like to see Trevor Lawrence do better against Atlanta. When Jacksonville goes up against a team like Denver, or if they go up against like a New England, just like with Zach Wilson, you understand that it's going to be a tough game for the quarterback. Going against Atlanta, you'd being at home, you'd want to see him do a little bit better. But he's a rookie. It wasn't horrendous. It wasn't the worst performance in the world, but definitely not a great game for Trevor. And, Atlanta's in every game. They have a veteran quarterback who's been to the Super Bowl. He's been good his whole career. And Patterson, Cordell Patterson has just been one of these rare NFL stories. After 9 years of not living up to who he was supposed to be as a wide receiver, magically is now a dual threat player who's rushing for over 100 yards in a game. So he had 108 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, Atlanta's one of those teams that, they can win any week, and you can't, obviously you'll never be shocked when any team beats Jacksonville. We won't be shocked if the Jets beat Jacksonville or vice versa, because they're just not there yet. They're a team that has a lot of work and a long way to go before they're going to be a competitive NFL team. And I think Atlanta is definitely on the right track. I think they got a good coach. Their only issue is that their quarterback is very old. So I don't see how they're going to do a longer term rebuild and how that's going to fit. So eventually they're going to have to think about how they're going to work in a new quarterback.
Yeah, it's a tricky place to be. Old quarterback, mediocre team. At some point, you have to rebuild, but you don't want to because you like your team. It's a tough place to be.
Yeah. They got a great tight end up in Atlanta. That guy Pitts, he's going to be something special. So, I mean, really special. I mean, very, very difficult to stop. So, maybe they'll squeeze another.
Tight end's not a team.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's not all they have. I mean, again, it's more the problem with Atlanta's rebuild is more about quarterback of the future.
So maybe they have to buy one also.
Yeah, and another problem they have is Cordell Patterson is no young spring chicken. So I don't know how long he's going to last, doing what he's doing. But might be the system. So they might be able to find like another big play athlete, like a similar style athlete to Patterson. And that might be just what we see in the Atlanta offense in the future. It might just be a different name on this jersey, but the same kind of usage. They might find the same type of player.
Yeah. So we covered the Chargers as they lost to Denver. I was super happy. This is a San Diego Charger jersey that I'm wearing. I want a team that plays them to win. We covered that game. You want to talk about what you think about both those teams? Because it was interesting. I think you would have thought the Chargers would have picked up the win here.
Yeah, I definitely thought the Chargers would pick up the win. Not that Denver's a bad team, not that it's a shock. Denver has an amazing defense, just an incredible defense. Bridgewater plays, has games where he plays really well. And when he plays well, they become a very, very difficult team to beat. So Bridgewater didn't do a ton. I think he may have gotten hurt or banged up because he didn't get all the reps. But Denver did not pass a lot, but they were able to do enough. They were able to do some running. It was really the defense that won the game for them. And Bridgewater was efficient, even though he didn't pass a lot. I mean, he was 11 for 18, did throw for a touchdown. He didn't throw any interceptions, although Drew Lock came in and did. But Bridgewater held it together. He did what he had to do. 101 yards. He also rushed for a touchdown. So the Chargers are the disappointment here. I think with Justin Herbert and he's on track. I mean, he had a bad game. He threw 2 picks. He's on track to have a very similar year to the year he had last year. And usually if you have the same exact year that you had the year before and you were a rookie the year before, you're not happy as a fan base. But he had such a great rookie year, it's hard to complain. I mean, he's, even in a bad game, and he might consider this a bad game with his 2 picks, he still threw 2 touchdowns and over 300 yards passing against the incredibly difficult defense. So I thought San Diego would be better. I don't know if it's, they got a new coach. I don't know if, they just need time to work things out. But, at some point, the Chargers are going to be a problem in the NFL because Justin Herbert is special.
Well, let me ask you this question then. They're tied now at the top of the division. Who takes the division this year?
I would. My gut still tells me Kansas City is pulling it together and is gonna take it.
So you're gonna have 3 teams well over 500.
I don't know if we're gonna have 3. I don't know if we're gonna have 4 teams well over 500. I think that. I just think that Kansas City is going to pull it out. I mean, right now, the Chargers are 6-5, and I think what they're showing is that they're a team that they have talent, They have the quarterback. We don't know if it's the coach yet. We don't know if they have the coach yet. They might. And he just, it's just their first year, new system. The Raiders look great at times and they look bad at times. So they haven't been able to prove that they can go on a tear and win 4 or 5 games. They would have to do that for anyone to really take them seriously. Same with Denver, So I think Kansas City really struggled, but now they've won 4 in a row. They're defending Super Bowl AFC championships for the past 2 years. So I think they're still the team to beat. So if you ask me who's going to win that division, I say as long as Patrick Mahomes stays healthy and Andy Reid is the coach, they're going to find a way to win the division.
Okay, I want to see some chaos now. Are both wild cards coming out of this division?
I don't think so. I think that, as a matter of fact, it's going to be a fight to even get one wild card out of that division. I think that they have to, because you're going to have to look at Cincinnati, who could still pull it off against Baltimore. So you got Cincinnati and Baltimore in the AFC North, right? So you're going to have to contend with that. And then you're going to have to contend with Buffalo and New England. So the one who doesn't win that division, you're going to have to contend with that. You're going to, so it's hard to see Buffalo and New England not making the playoffs. I think that you might see the Chargers or the Raiders overtake Cincinnati or Baltimore. Baltimore is in good shape right now. The only worry that Baltimore has to have is that Lamar Jackson does not look like Lamar Jackson. So he's going to have to come around, or they're going to have to really rely heavily on their defense. So that's going to be an interesting thing. But I don't see both coming out of the AFC West, because that would mean that Cincinnati, like in the AFC North, or Baltimore does not make the playoffs, and that would mean that New England or Miami, one of those teams, would have to not make the playoffs. So 2 of those teams would have to not make the playoffs. Indianapolis would have to not do what they might do, which is start tearing it up, because they lost a tough game against a really good team, but Indianapolis is dangerous. They really are. So I don't know. If anything, you might see either the Chargers, any of those teams in the AFC North, you might see one of them pull up and steal a wild card spot, but I don't see 2 of them.
Well, I'm going to go chaos on you and say we're going to get both from that division, both wild cards. There you go.
that is, I'll go chaos in the other way, and I'm going to say none, just be Kansas City. And
Cincinnati can't even beat the Jets. Come on.
There's a trap game, man, and the Jets are better than people think. We might even see that they're better than people think. We'll see what happens here. But when the Jets are clicking, there's talent on that team. And I think...
Okay. Let's move it on. The Packers beat the Rams. And those are 2 really good teams. The Packers, man, Aaron Rodgers looking good.
Yeah. It is... the Packers are a team that I think could go to the Super Bowl. I think we talked about that, and I said I think that they might. I think if somebody's going to beat Tampa Bay, I think it could very well be the Packers that do it, and end up getting some revenge from. Aaron Rodgers is not a guy to take lightly. He's a competitor. He's been obviously an amazing quarterback for a long time. And I think that he has a really bitter taste in his mouth. And I think he would love to get the Packers to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl and then leave. I really think he would love to do that to them. He has a lot of resentment toward them. He has a lot of resentment. And I think
maybe pull a Brady, go somewhere else and bring them the ring.
Yeah, but I think he wants to win it with the Packers and then say, okay, you made the deal, I leave, right? So, Well,
that's doing like a double, right? That's winning it and then winning it for somebody else.
Yeah.
It's like both hands.
Well, yeah, if Aaron Rodgers left and went to a team like the Washington football team, or if he went to Denver with that defense, automatically you leap them right into Super Bowl contention. Automatically, if you put a quarterback like that on a couple of different teams, it makes them just automatically overnight incredibly dangerous.
What about the Rams here? What do you think? I mean, they lost, but they lost to a great team. Where are they going?
It's hard to say. Again, this can change. Momentum changes in football. The Rams are very good, but when tested, we've seen them fold. And the issue is a little bit that we assume that Stafford was being held back because he was stuck in Detroit. Now, Stafford has always put up good numbers. He's always been a good quarterback, but he's always, even in Detroit, seems to fall short a little bit when it really matters. And I like Stafford on the Rams. I mean, I knew the Rams were going to be really scary with him because I knew he was, getting out of Detroit and having a real team around him was going to mean something. I think it's really going to be the Rams defense that has to step up. I think that, giving up 36 points to Green Bay is not going to cut it. I mean, I think that the way they're going to have that edge, to be able to beat Tampa, to beat Green Bay, I think the Rams have to be more than just their offense. I think they have to be really vicious on defense. So I'd be concerned, but they're going to be in the playoffs and they're going to give themselves a good chance. They're going to be deep in the playoffs, whether maybe either the NFC Championship based on their path or, the divisional championship. So they're going to be close within 2 games of a Super Bowl. We'll just see if they can deliver in the big games.
So 2 5-5 teams play each other. Niners, Minnesota Vikings. It goes to the Niners. Did you have that one? Which team's going where?
I had it as a toss-up game. The Niners are getting healthy. And they're a very good team when they're healthy. I think the Vikings are a disappointing team. I think that they should be better than they are. I think their fans are very frustrated. They're wasting some years of having some really good talent. But I'm not surprised by the outcome because the Niners are healthier and they really are a very, very good team. They have a lot of talent on that team. They were just banged up. They had a lot of trouble with injuries. But when healthy, the last time they were fully a healthy team, they went to a Super Bowl. So, and they came within one play of winning it. There was a wide open receiver that Jimmy G missed at the end, and they would have won that game. They came within a play of winning the Super Bowl, and so I'm not super surprised, and I think that people better look behind, in the NFC, they better look at San Francisco. If they win the next couple of games, it's going to get very interesting with that team because they're a dangerous team if they make the playoffs.
So Baltimore, Cleveland, low-scoring game.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. Baltimore's record's good, but their fans got to be very concerned. Lamar Jackson has not looked good, and now it's getting to the point where you have to think, what's the issue? Is he hurt? Not saying anything. They're not saying anything. Have teams figured him out? Or is he just a little bump? And it happens. But he does not look like Lamar Jackson right now. I always suspect injury or something's wrong and he's not, we don't know. Because it's just so unpredictable. I mean, I was talking to some fantasy guys. I was on Pure Adrenaline Fantasy site as a guest on their live stream. And I was watching them give advice to someone to start Jalen Hurts over Lamar Jackson this week in their fantasy. And I'm like, in the beginning of the year, who would have believed that? Who would have believed that somebody with a fantasy football team would start Jalen Hurts over Lamar Jackson? I mean, so
amazing.
Yeah, so it's teams have been rolling on Cleveland. I mean, just pounding on them in the last few weeks. They have really fallen apart.
You used to love Mayfield. I mean, you used to love that guy.
I love him now. I think he's playing hurt, and I think he's getting such a raw deal, and Cleveland's going to look stupid. If they let him go and they don't re-sign him, I think they're going to end up looking very stupid. He is playing with literally 3 injuries now, one of them being a shoulder injury. So difficult. And a leg injury. You have to plant your feet when you throw. exactly a year ago, he was the guy who led Cleveland to the playoffs. Like, for the first time ever, like he was finally the quarterback. He was the leader. He was the guy. You cannot throw a guy out into the trash in 1 year, especially when they're known to be injured. It just doesn't make any sense. I would love to be the team if they let him go. Um, Obviously, it's not going to be the Jets, but I would love to be the team desperate for a quarterback in a year where there's nobody in the draft or no one that's blowing anyone away in the draft, like a New Orleans. If they snatched up Baker Mayfield, I might be wrong, but I might be right. You might see New Orleans go. I keep saying New Orleans, but Nolans. But you might see them go right back to the top because I don't think Baker is an elite top 5 quarterback, but I think he's a very solid quarterback.
All right. So Monday night, baby. I was interested in this game, and here's why. Because if Seattle loses, the Jets get a better draft pick. And they did. They lost. Washington picked up the win.
Yeah, I have a theory about that. Russell Wilson wasn't ready to come back because you just don't. For the last, his career, his entire career since he was a rookie, it's not magical. He didn't lose his quarterback ability. He wasn't figured out by defenses. He's one of the most proficient, consistent quarterbacks in the NFL. He's been great game after game for years with maybe a few off games. And he clearly just had surgery on a finger on his throwing hands. He obviously wasn't ready to come back. And it's silly that he's playing, especially now that they're eliminated, pretty much eliminated, but maybe not mathematically. They should be sitting him, man. They should be sitting him. If they care about him and his future and they believe he's part of their future, they would be sitting him. There's no.
I was gonna say they should sit him and play for the draft choice, but then I remembered, hey, the Jets have their draft.
Yeah, the Jets have the play. I can't say I'm upset that Seattle's losing, but I am a Russell Wilson fan, and I'm really upset about the fact that they brought him back too soon. I think they're obviously he has competitive fire and they're going to want him back in there. But if I care about my player and I'm running that team, I am not bringing him back, because he is not throwing the ball well because of his finger. It is clear as day, and I can't believe more people aren't talking about that because that is not Russell Wilson we're seeing on the field. They should rest him for 2 to 3 weeks, whatever it takes to get him completely healthy. Make sure he has complete feeling and the complete grip on the ball before they play him, because all you're going to do at this point is damage him.
The Washington football team, any chance?
Great defense. If they make the playoffs, they're dangerous. Also, shocker, their backup quarterback, Tom Heineke, could be the guy. I mean, it's too early to say he is, but it's definitely, you can't dismiss what he's doing. He is making great decisions. He's playing really smart football. He's making plays that he needs to make. I don't know. Washington football team got to keep looking very carefully because if he keeps playing this way, they're going to have a very difficult decision at the end of the year. And again, this is not the year to draft a quarterback if you don't have to. If he plays well enough, if he lets you down next year, then you grab your guy in 23. But I don't know if I'm grabbing a guy now that if I'm not blown away by them, when you have a quarterback playing well and an amazing defense. So they could be a team that competes and plays really well with just a really good, decent, efficient, no mistakes kind of quarterback.
Okay, before we end the show, your 2 Super Bowl picks.
Okay, I'm not going to change on what we've said earlier. I think it's on another video. My gut is telling me Kansas City, Green Bay.
Kansas City, Green Bay. And it goes to Green Bay because Aaron Rodgers wants to show them.
It goes to Green Bay because although I think it'll be a high-scoring game, I think that Green Bay's defense will have a couple of more holes and come through and not break a little. They'll have the slight edge that the defense will hold enough to get them the win.
All right. You want to wrap it up?
We'll wrap it up. Everybody who's watched this video, we appreciate you staying to the end. Please hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel and you haven't. Hit the like button. hit the notification bell, because in the future, as
Ding, ding, ding.
because as the channel builds, we will be doing a lot of live streams. We're going to be doing game coverages. We're actually we're probably going to do a game on Sunday, possibly the late game on one of the late games on Sunday, the one that seems interesting to us. But we're going to do a lot more live streaming as we build up this channel. So I'll have a lot of other guests. I'm going to have insiders from all the different teams to talk about other teams in more depth than I've went into. I already have somebody who's a 49ers fan lined up. I have a Raiders fan lined up. I have a Minnesota Vikings fan lined up. I have an Eagles fan lined up. So we have a lot of people that are going to come in as insiders and give us more in-depth information about those teams, answer questions in live chats. So hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching this video.
Thank you.
And I hope I brought enough chaos.